I sometimes text them.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Wednesday, October 8th meeting of the Honeybrook Township Board of Supervisors. We'll start the meeting with the pledge to the flag. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Some announcements. Please be advised that we have 4 assisted listening devices available for anyone who is hard of hearing. You can come forward and we can help you with that. In accordance with Resolution 2-2012, you're informed that Scott Stilson, Vincent Drive, is recording tonight's meeting for posting on YouTube. The meeting is also available and being recorded electronically on Microsoft Teams. And in accordance with Resolution 20-2023, the rules of conduct for public meetings and public comment period shall be observed and are listed at the bottom of the agenda. And with that, we'll move into public comment. If when you come to the podium, you give your name, and the time will be 3 minutes for each person to present their comment. Is there anybody on this side of the room? We'll start over here.
Good evening, Steve Jones, 172 Vincent Drive. For my public comment this evening, I'll keep it quick. I know a lot of people come up here and sometimes usually lodge a complaint or have a concern about something. This evening, I would just like to thank the board and the staff and the employees of the township. I'd like to thank you for the safe investments you made with our tax money, so that we could give to the community with the proceeds of that. The audiovisual equipment, that is a little bit on the fritz, but it is working and has been provided for the community, including the Zoom platform that I used, the Teams platform I used last year, last week. That worked very well. The security cameras installed in the township building here for our safety and security. The agenda packets that have been provided to us for the past couple months, they've been very invaluable. The renovations and the group that is doing the Humboldt Park committee, I'd like to thank them for all their time and efforts that they're putting into it. The grant that we're putting in for Humboldt Park, and also the skate park, which has reduced crime according to a right-to-know request I put in with the state police. They reported no police incidents in Humboldt Park this year. I believe that's directly related to the stewardship of the skateboarders and the skateboard park. I'd also like to thank the board and the manager specifically for the grant for our EMS service, for the grant for over $300,000 to purchase a new ambulance. Over the past 10 years, our boards, including the 3 of you and others, have only insured a less than $0.4 mil, less than half a mil, and an increase in taxes and that went towards fire and EMS. The negotiations with Telhi, who's a wonderful community partner, for their assistance with putting money towards a future EMS facility. The grant's going towards the assisting of the fire company for a future apparatus if that gets passed. The work on the comp plan, the on-site septic plan, keeping our water clean for communities that are to the south of us and ourselves. The monthly donations that are made and the yearly donations that are made to the nonprofits in our community, specifically the library. And we see we have Mr. Ross here from the Huntingburg Food Pantry, which I do deliveries once a month. There is a need in the community. There's a very great need for that. So thank you for supporting that. The command vehicles for the fire company, like I said, the skate park, and also all of your work that all of you have done, the solicitor, the engineers, the manager, the staff, to save the Huntingburg Speedway. And hopefully that's a good resolution when it ends. Also, thanks for your help with Harmony Day, and also we'll be speaking about, I saw on the agenda about the anaerobic digesters. So thank you for taking the time to look into that and provide us the information we need for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else on this side? If not, we'll move over to this side of the room.
My name is Skip DeGarry. I'm at 163 Township Line Road, Elverson, PA. I'm specifically going to address stuff with the anaerobic digesters. I've been in here before on this subject. Many people would consider me, based on my background, a subject matter expert. If you could definitely help yourselves out, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. There's already established code and law in Pennsylvania that addresses this subject, which protects you and protects the citizens. One example would be Warwick Township, Lancaster County. And you could cut and paste that and adopt those measures. Carnarvon, which I just left on this very subject, has basically done the exact same thing. West Nantmill is in the process of doing the same thing. And I've been on an ag board, a quarterly ag board in Pennsylvania on this subject. Digesters, there's accessory and regional. And really, nobody I know is against an accessory anaerobic digester, which is basically they're using the energy produced and they're supplying the waste, the manure, to run it. They're not creating a landfilling industrial waste processing facility and then spreading the waste with no cradle-to-grave tracking over the land and basically wrecking it. Now, in those regulations, why people are trying to get stuff done is based on House Bill 502. What House Bill 502, if it goes through, you're not going to get a say. You're spinning your wheels, it doesn't matter, because that means the state, the panel they put together, is going to decide, well, anything that they consider energy, you won't have any say in, which is these projects. Furthermore, the Pennsylvania Constitution is really clear. Article 1, Section 27, and it reaffirms the rights of citizens of Pennsylvania to have clean water, clean air, among other things. And it supersedes any police powers of the state coming from state legislators, authorities, townships, anything to that right. And the Pennsylvania Supreme Court reaffirmed that, I think it was 2013, 2014, in a case, and it had to do with setbacks. It had to do with 2,500-foot setbacks and the legality of it. And they reaffirmed the legality of it because you can't get every business entity in a township based on growth. It's impossible. Otherwise, you could have a hazardous waste processing center over here, you could have a strip club over here, you could have a landfill over here, but you can't fit it in already. This is just another one of those things, and don't let the lipstick on the pig fool you. Only thing a co-digester, a regional co-digester is, industrial waste processing facility with no cradle-to-grave tracking. And it's already proven to contain PFAS, which is cancerous causing, and heavy metals. Thank you for your time. Y'all have a good day.
Anybody else on this side?
good evening. My name is Barbara Conway, 399 Crestview Drive. And I was wondering if anyone up here knows how the federal budget cuts will affect local municipalities, townships, the upcoming federal cuts. Okay, well I looked it up. This is an AI overview, but there are 17 credible sources cited. The federal budget cuts will affect local and municipal township by reducing or eliminating funding for critical programs, particularly in housing, infrastructure, social services, and disaster preparedness. This forces local governments to either cut services, raise local taxes, or use a combination of both to compensate for the loss of federal support. That's including state support. The impact is often felt most by the vulnerable residents as well as by small towns with limited tax bases, and that sounds like us. So the reduced funding for vital community projects would be housing and community development, home investment programs, Section 8 housing, choice vouchers would cripple local affordable housing efforts, infrastructure, cuts to federal grants for transportation, water, broadband projects would halt or delay critical upgrades. And this particularly affects smaller municipalities which rely on programs like CDBG for projects such as sewer and water line repairs. Rural development, significant cuts to USDA rural development programs, the elimination of Economic Development Administration could remove billions in support for rural communities, limiting their ability to support local economies. And then, of course, the social safety net programs, health and human services, Medicaid, SNAP support. It would cut support for vulnerable populations, loss of rental assistance vouchers, affecting seniors, people with disabilities, families with children, risking housing instability and homelessness, nonprofit providers, which I know is dear to your heart up here, community organizations that administer social programs and distribute food may face shortfalls in resources, disrupting services to residents in need. And that would also result in increased local fiscal pressure, higher local taxes, and that would include to maintain mandated services for public safety. Townships would be forced to increase property taxes and other local fees. Deferred maintenance for roads, sidewalks, sewer systems will be postponed, and then that would result in higher costs in the future. Cancellation mitigation programs, FEMA, would, then disorganize responses, which is also FEMA, leaving local governments, residents with fewer resources to recover. Job losses and slower economic growth, both for private sector and especially for those employed in infrastructure and community development projects. Where's the money going? Of course, there's the $1 trillion tax cut, which is an extension to the already tax cut that was enforced in 2017. And I don't know how much additional tax cuts for corporations, which the other tax cut was set to expire at the end of this year, but they added $1 trillion of additional tax cuts for the upper 1%, while we still have a $7.25 an hour minimum wage.
Hold on 3 minutes. I would have kept talking.
Also, 20 to 24 million people will lose their health care because they can no longer afford it, and these are high deductible plans, and the premiums will skyrocket. Also, the money's going to ICE, so you can look that up, or I'll talk about it next month. Okay, because the ICE budget was increased from $10 billion in 2024 to $170 billion over 4 years.
All right, thank you
Okay.
for your comment. Is there anybody else on this side of the room?
Lorraine Louie, Vincent Drive. I have a question for the board. There's been some chatter recently on the internet about the program 287G. So I'm just wondering, is this township involved in that program? And if we have any intention to be involved, in the very near future. I did produce a printout, and my concern is related to when you search the internet, and we all know everything on the internet is true. It says in Pennsylvania State Constable Office of Honeybrook, Precinct 1 has applied for this 287G program. My first question is, I really don't know what Honeybrook Precinct 1 is, because I know Honeybrook Township as Precinct 300 and Precinct 301, and the borough is 295. So I don't know if it's a misprint or something on the website, the ice.gov, but it does mention Honeybrook. So that was one question. My second question, we have a bunch of LSA grants on the agenda for tonight. My specific question is the LSA grant for the library. We've talked about it a couple of times over the last couple of months, and I thought that we were going to assist the library in pursuing an LSA grant by teaching them how the process works, but I didn't think that we were going to be involved in the middle of it. And on the agenda today, there's a resolution which names, Honeybrook Township with the library. So before you guys approve that today, hopefully you would have some discussion and elaborate why Honeybrook Township is in the middle of an LSA grant for the library. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anybody else on this side of the room? If there are no other comments, we'll move on to the consent agenda.
Point of order, we've only received items 1 through 10, so any motion should include just items 1 through 10.
Okay.
I'll make a motion for items 1 through 10.
And a second?
Second.
All approved?
Aye.
Next is department reports. First is board supervisors. Anybody have anything?
I do not.
No. Okay, having nothing, we'll move on to Ken Ross from the Honeybrook Food Pantry.
Good
Boy,
start.
Ken's breaking stuff.
I'm off to a terrific start.
Here, you can hold it while I fix it.
All right.
Here we go, we'll double.
This is the high point
Of the evening, it's the morning Ken show. All right. Nope, we're good again. You'll have to hold it.
All right.
We'll fix it later.
Anyway, it's always kind of difficult to figure out the best way to spend the time with you. So I think the approach I'll use today is first and foremost, I apologize, I had a little allergy thing going, which was not helped by another overwhelming distribution that just finished up over at the warehouse. But first and foremost is really thanks on behalf of all the folks that we serve for the support from the Honeybrook Township. That monthly stipend is very important to us, more important now than ever, because we have sort of variables moving in the wrong direction. The number of people needing help is going up, monitoring source obviously is going down. So that is critically important to us, and we could not be more appreciative. I think, maybe the best way to spend a few minutes with you tonight might be to just sort of revisit our mission, sort of how we may be doing on that mission, a little bit on the quantification side, not overbearing on the numbers, a little bit more on the, what is it about? What is our program about? And, of course, any questions, comments, or any direction you'd prefer that I take, more than happy to do that. We really have two sort of concurrent objectives. One is addressing food insecurity in the community, and secondly is trying to drive independence among the people that we see. And I would give us high marks on the food insecurity. We're seeing more people, although the trend of growth has flattened. Now we're seeing maybe 1% or 2% more people than historically. Although of some concern, the September trend was about 11 to 12% up. Our universe of families that we've seen or are seeing this year is in the ballpark of about 700. We've lost 7% of that this year, which is a positive step forward, but not where we would like to be. Obviously, we'd be happier working ourselves out of business as opposed to seeing more people. But costs being what they are, and incomes and benefit levels being what they are, we view our job as responding to that need, making sure that people we see are eligible, and making sure that we do a good job in feeding them. So, on that point, for just a very quick re-educational purpose, people are getting about 60 pounds of food on every distribution. Today, for example, we had 7 different fruit or produce options. We really put a lot of emphasis on the survey results of the people that we serve. We survey them on everything. And they will tell you consistently, produce is the #1 priority for them. And we respond to that by maybe at times overspending on produce. We also ask them about what we're doing well and not well. 90 to 95% are consistently satisfied or very satisfied. And the most consistent comment is about the welcoming environment, the climate that people feel when they come to visit. On the independent side, there's a lot of things that we put a lot of attention into to try to drive independence. We really try to make the pantry sort of a one-stop shop for a lot of different things going on at once. We have, today for example, we had legal aid, we had 211 County Human Services, as well as the county flu and COVID vaccine. So it's that kind of diversity of visitors who we see. We'll have a lot of medical people, we'll have a lot of benefits people, we have a lot of employment people. CareerLink sends someone every month. We have employers recruiting live. We have mock interviews going on. And, we also do job training and financial management workshops for clients who sign up in advance. So, independence is an important part of what we do, and I would say we have a ways to go to get the population down to a number that we'd be happy with. But at the same time, it's really all about meeting the food insecurity needs as well. Maybe just a couple things about some of the special programs. We're doing about 130 backpacks for the 3 elementary schools in the area. We have a program for kids under 4, diapers, wipes, formula, and all kinds of educational things. We have a couple highly qualified, one's a registered dietitian, an RN, who are there on site every distribution. And much of the focus is on the kids under 4. That number now is 85 families who are participating. We have a little cooking demo on the creative recipes and things that we give out at the distribution, which is kind of cool. Through a state grant, providing personal items, which obviously are important to retain the dignity of the people we see. You can't buy them with staff. Oftentimes, people don't buy them, and that's why we provide them. And I think that's an important component of the service that people feel and, generally are very complimentary about. Not to kind of drag on with the details, but some of the things that we kind of specialize in may serve smaller niches of the population, but in our judgment, it's still critically important. Diabetes may be the best example. There's a whole program of approved foods for those who are pre-diabetic or diabetic. And Julie was telling me tonight that today's diabetic utilization was the highest we've ever had. So it is a more prevalent illness, as we all know, and we're trying to do the best we can to make sure that our assortment is complementary to that. The only other thing, maybe just to close on it, I probably have used this example before because it is so representative, but this community is really like no other that I've worked with. I've done a lot of pro bono work growing up in Cleveland to a lot of areas around here. Not seen a community as engaged as the community is here. Yeah, donations are down, clearly. Smaller donations are declining. People are watching discretionary income. Good example, I had last year a new code donor, 60 codes, this year 36. Not uncommon. But there still is that continued sort of peppering of emails, letters, and voicemails about people reflecting that they are proud that we're in their community, which I would say is very unusual in this space. And that's really a tribute to the area. It's a pleasure I live in Exton, but it is a pleasure to spend a lot of time here. Any questions, comments?
Thank you for what you do. You got some really good people over there. Been over there quite a few times.
We have 105. We have 105 volunteers. Nobody makes a dime, and I think that comment from the people that we see about this welcoming environment really is the creation of the culture and how those folks do their thing. And it's a good feeling because let's face it, people don't want to wait in line for food, and we don't want to be there. So why not make the best of it? Why not create an environment where people are enjoying what they're doing? They're enjoying the time they're spending. And I think that's important. The food's important. That's job one. And all these other things I think are great as well. The flea market's great. Getting the clothing van is great. All that stuff's great. But sort of how people feel and the quality of the food they get, those things will always be the top priorities. But I appreciate the comments.
Thank you. I'm going to try to fix this one more time.
Thank you.
I think it's great that you have so many different things that you're trying to help people in different ways, more than just giving them food. You tried to help them lower their property taxes on their mobile homes by giving them a program, piloting a program for reassessments, job fair stuff. That's great, that it's more of just than here's something that you're trying to help them in a more rounded way. That's great.
Yeah, I appreciate that, Tracy. That's really that's a good point. You might be interested. One thing about the population that we serve, and I don't say this in a denigrating way, but you can always count on a fairly high no-show rate for most everything. We had a budgeting workshop that M&T Bank put on, and for the first time in the 13 years I've been involved, starting this project, we had 100% attendance. 28 people signed up and 28 people showed, which is absolutely for a budgeting program, which is just astounding.
Yeah, that's great.
And really good. So one other quick thing. So we're doing doing Thanksgiving and Christmas this year. This will be the second time, so we have Thanksgiving ham dinners complete. And the Christmas gala will be December 13th this year. Last year, we had about 1,200 donated toys and close to 500 coats. It'll be a reach to get to that, but I suspect people will turn out and we'll have a blowout crowd, and we'll be doing that again this year on December 13th. We did the backpacks with school supplies as usual, and of course we did Easter, and that would be the plan to continue those, the large events.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Ken.
Tracy.
Our next report is Don Johnson, Public Works.
Don is not here, but he did pass along his report. Roadside mowing is almost completed for the season. The Talbotville Road Stormwater Project has commenced, and they will continue with that until bad weather sets in. They will finish up in the spring. The Dove Drive patching repair is complete, and the road will be seal coated next spring. Looking ahead, we don't want to think about it, but we need to get ready for it. Salt and anti-skid will be replenished and stored up, so we are ready to go for the winter. And that is Don's report.
Thank you. Next, Christie.
Thank you. By all accounts, Harmony Day went well. Good participation in the first ever Sweetwater Run and the activities at the park, which I don't want to step on Kevin's toes. But they will be meeting again next week, and the Make a Difference Day project will be the topic. Tonight we have one short-term rental special exception application to discuss, and that is one of many that have started to come in. There were several short-term rentals identified that are advertising actively, and so they are starting to come in and get things squared up with us. A couple of things to note for November already. The township office, Township Administrative Office will be closed to walk-up traffic on Tuesday, November 4th, due to the election, and staff will be working remotely and answering phones. And all township offices will be closed the following Tuesday on Veterans Day, which is, both of those take place before the next meeting, so I wanted to get those in people's minds. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next report, Lauren Obuski.
As usual, I'll ask the board to accept my written report and happy to answer any questions now or at any time that the supervisors have about that.
All right, thank you.
Sorry, Warren, can you explain what the constable information?
Sure. Constables are elected in every municipality in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. That is an elected position. Honeybrook Township does not have an elected constable. Honeybrook Borough does have a constable, so I believe what the comment was with the ICE information was probably about the constable for Honeybrook Borough. Just for everyone's understanding, the constables is a state position. They are not under the purview of the borough, the mayor, the police department, Chester County, the sheriff's department, the district attorney. So in limited occasions, the president of the Common Pleas Court, which is a judge, does have oversight of constables if there's some type of complaint during their duties when they're doing that type of work, serving court papers, working for district magistrates. So they have two roles in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania. First is to provide security on election day at polling places, and the second is they can do work for the local district magistrate at the request of the magistrate.
Thank you.
Community Library.
Good evening, Sergio Cabral representing the Board of Trustees. On a previous update, we let you guys know that we got a grant from Giant to work on the landscaping around the library, and today we got started with that process. We planted 7 trees, so that's kind of moving things forward on that end. As you know, we are still working on our capital campaign, and what we've been doing lately, it's an event we called Dine and Donate, which different restaurants allow their patrons to donate to the library through the purchase of food and everything they dine there. Our last Dine and Donate was at the Greenside Grill here in Brook, and we raised $1,000, so that went really well. Our next Dine and Donate will be on Wednesday, October 15th, from 4 to 10 p.m. at the Texas Roadhouse in downtown. So please join us. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is the Land Preservation Committee.
See you, Steve.
Not much since last month. We do have a meeting set up for October 21st. We'll be talking about a lot of good ways that we are going to reach out to the community. Would love to hear input from everyone. So if you're here tonight, if you know a friend that's interested in that, please have them come to the meeting Tuesday the 21st at 7 p.m. Also, I noticed in the agenda packet, the 2024 report was submitted by Shane. So I think we're compliant with that, and that's all I have.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next is Planning Commission.
We did not have a meeting in September due to lack of agenda items. We do have a meeting coming up October 23rd. As Christy mentioned, there are several short-term rental zoning hearing applications in as we work to get those existing ones consistent with Honeybrook's requirements that were recently adopted. We also have a couple sketch plans that will be on the agenda and potentially one land development plan. So we will have a full meeting.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And lastly, Recreation and Parks Board.
I do not see Kevin, and I think Christy gave a pretty good report on Harmony Day.
All right.
Well, thanks to everybody that did such a nice work on Harmony Day.
Rec and Park did a lot of work and chipped in, and it sounds like everybody had a great time at the park. I'll pass that along.
All right, thanks. Moving on to new business. The first item is the list of bills for payment as prepared by the treasurer and the financial security releases as recommended by the township engineer.
I'll make the motion to approve the bills.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Next, there's an amendment to the 2025 fee schedule to add a category titled short-term rental use regulated by the zoning code to the section zoning actions and miscellaneous use permits. UCC exempt activities on page 2 as follows. It has the language including the initial fees for a short-term rental use. The inspection fee is $75, $100 for the initial permit. After this special exception approved by the zoning hearing board, and then if a reinspection is required, a $75 reinspection fee will be charged by and paid directly to Technicon. It also includes renewal fees of $125, $50 annual renewal fee and $75 annual inspection fee. If a reinspection is required, a $75 reinspection fee will be charged by and paid directly to Technicon.
Just these inspections, the new regulations require the short-term rental to be in compliance with the property maintenance code. So in essence, some boroughs and other townships have rental unit inspections. Honeybrook doesn't have that on a true rental unit-wide thing, but for the short-term rentals, that is a requirement. So it's the inspections that our office will do for those on an annual basis.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
One second.
All in favor? Aye. Next is the zoning hearing application 2025-10 of Benjamin Kaufman, 1115 Park Road, parcel 22-10-44.2, a special exception to 27-1702.B.11 in order to operate a short-term rental in an accessory dwelling unit on a 60-acre property in the agricultural zoning district.
So the new short-term rental ordinance allows short-term rentals in certain zoning districts as a special exception use, and there are specific use criteria for the short-term rentals. In discussions with the planning commission chair and vice chair and the township manager, if a hearing application comes in for the special exception to approve the use, but the short-term rental otherwise meets all of the zoning criteria as reviewed by the zoning officer, it's going directly to the board of supervisors since it's just a special exception use. So that's this one. We do have multiple short-term rental applications that will have some variance component in addition to the special exception. So the first of those will be going to the October PC, but this one's just coming before you for your normal position of support, against, or no position.
But this does meet all the requirements.
It meets all of the zoning ordinance requirements. It just needs this special exception for the use itself.
And just a point of clarity, I think ultimately the zoning hearing board is who makes the decision that it meets all of the required, criteria under the ordinance. But from a, to the extent that anything that goes to the zoning hearing board, we've typically had planning recommend, and then the board hear their recommendation, decide if they want to, support, not support, or no position. The thought was, if through the zoning officer's review, it appears compliant, we don't need to waste planning commission's time with it, because they're not asking for relief from the ordinance, they're asking for something that's already by our zoning ordinance permitted, as long as they satisfy its criteria. They still have to show up at the zoning hearing, check all the boxes, go through the process, and there's opportunity for neighbors to show up at that time, and if there's anything unique about that property, that location, that the zoning hearing board should take into account, they can, but that's kind of the framework of it.
So the zoning makes the decision.
Correct. The special exception is approved at the zoning hearing board, so they are having a formal zoning hearing where their initial burden is just to say, run through the list of criteria. If they have 2 acres, if they have submitted the necessary plan, kind of all the things Jen's already seen, sort of just lay that out, and for better or worse, should be fairly automatic, but it does go through that formal hearing process.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to support.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next item is a motion for the township manager to sign a letter of support for Aqua PA's Penvest application to upgrade a drinking water well at 778 South Burdell Road, on property of Deer Run, tax parcel 22-8-77.1.
Sure. Warren and I met with Representative from Aqua, PA. There's some new state standards that they have to meet for their drinking water wells, so they have to do some modification to that existing well. So they're applying for a PennVest application, low interest loan grant, towards funding for that. And with any of those grant applications, they look for letters of support from communities or municipalities or agencies that they'll benefit. So we prepared a standard letter of support supporting their project and the good it'll do the community. So it's just an authorization for that to be signed and sent to Aqua to include in their application.
Okay.
Make a motion to authorize.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Next is Resolution 2025-19, authorizing the township manager to apply for a $1 million local share assessment, or LSA grant, for Phase 2 of updating and upgrading James A. Humble Memorial Park.
So as the board is aware, we received a DCNR grant for Phase 1, which was used for the skate park and the associated parking and trail upgrade. We also received a Phase 2 grant from DCNR as well to overlay the tennis and the basketball courts. The township has decided to reevaluate the overall status of our Arley Township Park, and we are now completing the James A. Humble Memorial Park Master Plan, and they're in the phasing and cost estimate portion of that program. So the LSA grant is state gambling funds. It can be anywhere from a $20,000 to a $1 million grant. I'm asking the board to authorize me to apply for a $1 million grant. It's non-matched, which means if we get that grant, we don't have to have any matching funds. And that would allow the township to start implementing the master plan that is going through the update process now. And we can use that with the existing DCNR grant. I think it's about $212,000 to start improving the park.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Next is Resolution 2025-20, authorizing the township manager to apply for a $204,375 LSA grant for the purchase of a 40-foot training tower and associated props for the Honeybrook Fire Company.
So again, this is an LSA grant with state gambling revenue. Nonprofits, which the fire company is, are not permitted to apply for the grants. However, local municipalities can apply on behalf of nonprofits that provide service or work within their municipality. So this is a request for a on-site training system that would be built out and allow the Honeybrook Fire Company to conduct additional training on site and remove the necessity for traveling distances to use other facilities training. That will allow them to improve the quality of service that their volunteer members provide back to the community.
And I think, Gary.
Chief Reed did speak about that last week at the budgetary meeting that the township had. So again, they essentially build out a training facility that works for their exact fire company needs.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
What is the timing of these grants? Like, how long does it take?
So the grants open up in September. They close at the beginning of November. They are awarded about the same time the following year, and then the money becomes available in January of that year following. So writing the 2025 grants, we learned that fall/winter about any approved grants, and then the money becomes available in 2027. And I believe you have to use them within 3 years.
And just to understand what you said, if it's a nonprofit, they're not allowed to apply for an LSA grant. The
Correct.
township has to do it, so that'd be the fire company, the library, the food pantry.
The ambulance, yes, correct. So we're allowed to apply on the behalf of municipalities, and school districts can apply directly. Other nonprofits do have to work through a host municipal agency. And we have done this in the past when we were awarded an LSA grant for Elvis and Honeybrook EMS. We saw that ambulance last year.
All right, thank you.
Have you ever received anything from the ones that are supposed to let us know coming this year?
So the awards for the LSA grants that we wrote last year have not yet been announced as of this week. And if we're awarded it, the Commonwealth does send us a notice through email of the award.
Any other questions on? Is there a motion?
I think we already
Oh, we did?
Yeah, we did.
Voted on 6.
Yeah,
Sorry.
It's okay.
All right, so we'll move on to Resolution 2025-21, authorizing the township manager to apply for $192,202.36 LSA grant for the purchase of 2 quick response vehicles for the Elverson Honeybrook EMS.
Again, state gambling funds, these are for 2 of their typically pickup trucks, which again, a lot of times they will forward send first responders to get there before the ambulance or the paramedic unit. So they have existing ones that are aging out and are due for replacement, and they requested that we apply for this grant for 2 of those vehicles.
I'll make the motion to approve.
second.
All in favor? Aye. Next is Resolution 2025-23, authorizing the township manager to apply for a $124,000 LSA grant for well and HVAC upgrades, installation, and picnic tables for the Honeybrook Community Library.
So these are just, the first 3 are, well, the well is about 50 years old and is entering quickly towards replacement. The HVAC upgrades are for their older portion of their building, and that includes the insulation. The picnic tables just allow them to host some more summer programs outside of their actual structure. So we'll wrap them all up into one grant.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Next is Sweetwater Farms, or Honeybrook Estates Petralia Drive dedication as a township road. First item is the release and termination of stormwater highway occupancy permit indemnification agreement.
Yeah, and just a little context on this. As part of that development, there is a PennDOT highway occupancy permit for the limited improvements to the stormwater, like head walls and a couple inlets on either side of 322 that they had to do as part of the project. At the time that we applied for that, the township has to be the permittee on the highway occupancy permit. There was initially an agreement done that was going to make essentially the HOA responsible for those drainage improvements along the PennDOT roadway. And now this is kind of rescinding that and agreeing to make the township responsible in exchange for a payment from the developer at this time, sort of as forward loading for any future maintenance, but it's all just improved, inspected by Technicom through the project installation. Everything's agreed on. So looking for a motion to just approve that agreement. We have and the developer who we've been working with is, you know, got the HOA's agreement on that.
Is there a motion on the agreement?
I'll make a motion to approve on
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. D is resolution 2025-2020, or 20-22, accepting the deed of dedication for Detralia Drive.
So all improvements out at, thank you, Christie. All improvements out at Sweetwater Farms, Sunnybrook Estates have been completed. They put the wear and course on the roadway last week. Their as-built plans have been reviewed. They're covered sidewalks, everything's completed. So at this point, the township will take ownership of the right-of-way of that roadway as part of this deed of dedication. The developer is responsible for an 18-month maintenance period and has posted an associated maintenance security. So close to the end of the 18 months from now, we will do a final inspection, identify any defects in the roadway, curb, sidewalk, those items, as well as the landscaping gets secured. And they'll have to correct those items prior to us releasing that maintenance security. But at this point, by accepting the deed of dedication, it becomes a township roadway. They have paid we're past the date that we can add roadways to our liquid fuels for PennDOT. So the developer's given the township the contribution that they would have gotten next year for this roadway as part of liquid fuels. It'll get added to the liquid fuels, not for the following year, but the township will be responsible for snow plowing of this roadway this year, which we did anticipate and was included in the snow plowing contracts for the development of the township that we did.
Okay.
Motion to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Lastly, here is a submission of a draft zoning amendment regarding anaerobic digesters to the Township and Chester County Planning Commission for review.
So I'll just chime in briefly. That was the draft that we had put together. I think the board's aware, we've been working on a number of kind of staff-driven engineer, solicitor updates to the zoning ordinance. That is something that we've been talking about since early this year, given obviously it's nearby in Carnarvon. But certainly with that project pulling out, we've kind of been talking with Warren, we decided to escalate this piece of it for its own freestanding amendment to try to get cleaner, better regulations on books. Our zoning ordinance does address manure digesters, but not necessarily in the more comprehensive.
More so as an accessory use.
Correct, in the larger regional, to Mr. Digari's.
Yes, ma'am. Nice job.
To point, we are, and similarly to his point, none of us are perfect experts on it, but Carnarvon has spent a ton of time, and so the draft we prepared at this point really does lean very heavily on what Carnarvon's put in place. We anticipate that in time, you know, if God forbid we have to actually test it out, it might get refined further, you know, and as we continue to learn and find other ways to improve it, but it's a starting place. And so what we're looking for at this point is, from a procedural standpoint, permission to send that to both the township and county planning commissions for their review, with candidly the eye towards streamlining this to get it adopted. You know, that there's not necessarily going to be a ton of back and forth and planning's looking at it this month and next month and the next month. The goal is to get something across the finish line so it's on the books, and then in a subsequent amendment, we always could refine it, if that makes sense. So-
And that's in light of that House bill that's out there that you know, we're
Right.
unclear what the full impacts there are and if there will be protections kind of under that for municipalities that do have full walls in place. It gives the township here a little more teeth on that if that does come part of the bill, that, you know, they do give consideration to municipalities who have proactively.
Because there are other things out there statutorily that say, you know, any use in effect as of date of this legislation may, you know, continue to be regulated as such, but from this point forward, this is the new rules you have to adhere to. So we'll see where that goes from the legislative side, but it's a proactive step to move quickly to get something on the books, hopefully quicker than the legislature. Who's moving slower than sometimes these days, but. Any other questions? So that'll go to planning with your approval, and then we'll get a review letter from county.
This month or next?
I think this month would be the intention.
This month, we'll work to, thanks, Christie. Because we have so many of these zoning hearings and stuff coming up, I'll work with Christie so we try and get a draft PC agenda and pack it out sooner. I want to say by probably that, by early next week, so that they can start getting an initial look at things, and then we'll add other things in as it comes. But we want to give them time to review that ordinance.
I make a motion to authorize.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Is there any other new business? Hearing none, any old business? All right. Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Thanks everybody for coming out.
Thank you.
Can I get a copy of that? You're gonna send it to the planning board, you said, so I can review it. When I come to the planning board, I'll be educated to help, you know, put in some comments to that.
I mean, that's more sufficient. They don't share the
With everybody I know, we're going to kind of get the whole story. Surely I do keep people know, by the way. Thanks, man.
Yeah, no, that was too good. Yeah, we had a lot of good, so Jim, how are you? I'm doing well.
She's feeling terrible.
Okay.
School night.
Yeah, no worries, tell her. Make sure you say hi to Sarah. Yeah, don't worry about it. Tell her I hope she feels well. She will.
You actually real well, like you've been like, no, I'm just saying, I know some people are going to change that. Well, I know, but I just, if they already have it, I'll do whatever, I'm not trying to.
Well,